Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight is. Woo! So yeah, Starlight is out here. Starlight is on top of a mountain. And I just was over like an overlook, on a mountain. But you really can't see anything, so I'm not going to really show anything to you because you're not really going to see anything. It's a lot of green leaves out here and trees. So anyway, I love you so much, and whatever you're going through, you're growing through. So don't beat yourself up, for anything, your shortcomings or anything like that. And also don't listen to what other people say. It's easy for other people to, say something without really knowing really all that you go through and where you came from. So don't listen to those people. Just keep going, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, and believe in yourself. You need to believe in yourself because other people might not. There might be some people out there, like I have some people that believe in me or that are there, love and support me, and I appreciate those people. But those are hard to find. And also, before I start this video, hello, my name is Starlight. Welcome to my YouTube channel, and you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't forget the notification bell, and you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you can share my videos with your family or friends. Plus, don't forget my playlist, and you can also find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman Starlight. And if anyone would love to send any love donations, you can through my Cash App, and I will have that information here. Ping, there it is. So now today's video is because I am on top of this mountain is, you know what? Nobody said life is going to be easy, and we got to keep on pushing. So it's about pushing, and about keep on going, and it's easy to give up, and it's hard to keep on going and pressing on, and and that goes with a lot of things, as far as like things that you might be working on is a lot of people don't start things because they see the big mountain and they're like, yeah, that looks like a lot of work, I think I'll just slide on that. But they regret it all the time. They regret it because, hang on, now I'm just going to show this because Starlight's got to get moving. They regret it, is that, and that is why, don't look at how big the mountain is, just start, climbing. And that is what I did today here. And now I'm going down. I already was up. And so I'll tell you what, when I was going up this spot here, Starlight was a huffing and a puffing, because I didn't know, I don't even know how many miles this was from the beginning where my car is all the way up here. And I had a really amazing day today. I met a lady on the way, and she it's kind of awesome how the universe does things, and I was able to be of service to her. I never know where God's going to send me and the people that I was meant to meet and to help them out one way or another. So it's such a blessing. So I did meet a lady, and it's funny because I was praying for help. Archangel Michael, please guide me to a spot where I can get alone and meditate. I need that alone time to clear out my chakras, work on myself, have some time with God. And it's amazing, because I went on this trail and I told her, I'm like, yeah, I brought my chair out here to, get alone and meditate. And she goes, wow, there's this beautiful clearing spot by the overlook, of the mountain. And she told me how to get there. And, but of course I had no clue what I was getting myself into because it's my first time out here. And so that's how it is. There's like, there's things that you might start, and it could be anything, you might start a new project, maybe at the house, and there's a lot of people, they start things and, they quit. They don't continue. They don't finish what they started, and then it just sits around, and I've been guilty of that in the past. I had different things, like sewing projects that I was working on. I was making a beautiful, my son didn't know it, and of course time went by and I ended up having to move and I had to give everything away, but I was making a camouflage coat and it was coming out really good, but I never finished it. And I was learning how to sew, so it was so much fun to do that. But there's times that people, they see other people doing it, and people forget, though, is they had to start from scratch, to get to where they are. They didn't just like, hey, I got it all figured out, and, people make it look easy. And just like having a YouTube channel, but I was warned, it's not easy. My mentor explained a lot of things for anybody that was going to start a YouTube channel or wanted to start a YouTube channel, is that is not easy. I'm just looking at these signs here. So, yeah, you gotta really know, really what you're getting yourself into. And so I think I gotta figure this out because I've never been here. So my intuition, I'm gonna go this way. So, like having a YouTube channel, there's maybe a lot of you guys, I've actually checked some of the subscribers on my YouTube channel where they might have a YouTube channel and they might have a few videos, and hey, that's great. But it's challenging to get out there, because we all have expectations, and that's what happened to Starlight when I started my YouTube channel. And I have lots of things to learn on my YouTube channel, but what's the most important thing for me to do is listen to what God, the universe, or whatever wants me to do every day. That's my most important. If I just listen, to what the universe wants me to do, I'm not, I can't worry about other things except for to focus on what God wants me to do, so, and there's, like a YouTube channel is, people make it look easy, but they all had to struggle. They all had to, go through all the watching videos, and so life wasn't meant to be easy. And there's a lot of people that they don't even attempt it, because they're looking at the mountain, and like here, I didn't even know this was a mountain here. I just like, hey, there's a hiking trail, I'm going there. And so now I'm actually going down right now. There should be a trail down here to go and take a turn. And so what it is, just like in your everyday life, I don't know about your life, but every night, Starlight is pushing every night before I go to bed. After I get done eating, I'm still pushing, I'm still moving, I'm still doing things that I need to work on. And, and that is, we got to keep on moving. We got to keep on pushing. It's so easy to fall behind, but it's hard. It's hard to keep on pushing and going ahead. And just like when Starlight was going up this hill, I never asked the lady, like, well, how far is it? I never asked her that. And, I don't even know how far, I was climbing up the hill and up the hill and up the hill. And if any of you have climbed any mountains, you know what I'm talking about, and I got my backpack and my chair, and I had water in my backpack. So I'm not just like walking out here, just me, hand free. No, I'm carrying weight with me to get up the hill. And so that's even more challenging, is when you're carrying stuff with you and you're climbing up the mountain. And so in life, you know, in your everyday walk, you know, some of you might be going through this now, is you might have projects that you're working on, and it's challenging because there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be times that, you know, we're going to take the wrong turn. There, you know, there's so many lessons that we're going to go through, and there's going to be distractions. There's going to be temptations. You know, this is life. You know, there's going to be so many things. People are going to say something, and you might, you know, get off track because, you know, you listen to them instead of listening to yourself. You're going to get people that are going to try to pull you aside. You're going to have people that are going to tell you, you know, where to go, what to do, or even give up. You know, and so life, you know, you really got to know what you want in life. And when I love climbing up mountains because I know it's more than just climbing this mountain made out of, you know, the earth and trees. There's a more to this than meets the eye. It's not just about what I'm going through here physically. It's also the struggles of other things in this reality that it's like going up to another level. When you push through things and you were able to make it up to the top, you know, just like I did today. And to be honest with you, after I seen that lady, I was walking and I seen, you know, just like I'm now. It's kind of funny. Here I'm going. This happens many times when you go down a mountain. Like this is actually supposed to be going down a mountain, but it looks like I'm going back up. That's the fun part, you know, like, you know, I was hoping when I get up the mountain that I can just go down the mountain to get out of here. But look, I got to climb even up to go down. And that, I'll tell you what, the way this reality is it's not meant to be easy. And only the people, and I say strong, but, you know, a lot of times when we're weak, you know, we are actually stronger than what we think we're weak, but we're stronger than what we think. You know, so I don't want to say people that are weak are not going to make it, but you have to really push yourself to make it. Like right now, I got to push myself to get up this hill, to get out of this hiking place. And so that is just like a video game. Is when I do a mountain like today, I look at it like, boy, I got to really push myself to finish this game that I'm playing. You know, and the reward will be at the end when I didn't give up, you know, like on the, hang on, Starlight actually has got to take a break because it's hard to talk and walk going up a hill. But like in a video game, you got to finish get to the end and beat the monster. But like today, Starlight I had to be careful walking down this. You know, I was tired, but I did a lot of walking up. And so like a video game is that depending on what kind of video game, is that there's something at each I don't know, phase of the video game that you got to beat some kind of monster. And so it really pushed me today to be determined. And when I got so far away from the lady that I talked to today that was on the trail, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Right, that's okay. You snuck right up on me. Enjoy. I do that. Yep. So, I got so far and I'm looking up the hill and I'm like, man, how far is it? You know, are we there yet? You know, because I'd never been here before. You know, it was a big, huge surprise because how many miles, you know, And I didn't know if she actually walked that today, you know. I didn't know where she went to, how far she walked, you know, because not everybody will, they could start out on a hiking trail, but it doesn't mean that they're going to start from the point A and get all the way through it. So, like I'm breathing heavy right now, is that parts of me said, Starlight, you ain't got time for this. You ain't got time. There ain't enough time to keep going. See, we get all these excuses why we can't do something. And but you know what? It was no accident that I came here today. This is where the universe wanted me to be today. So I put the excuses aside and kept going. You know, because I didn't know how far the outlook part is. And all I wanted to do is come all the way out here to meditate, get along with God. And so you're going to go through those kind of things in your reality where, you know, you're going to have excuses. Hang on, Starlight's got to get some water. So yeah, when you're working on a big project, you know, there's a lot of us could actually back out of it, you know, thinking, it's too much work. You know, it's really, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? You know, as I was walking up the hill, like I said at first, you know, I walked up so far and I couldn't really tell where the trail was going. It was part sun, part shade. And I was like, wow, wow, look at that. That's really going up there, you know. And so it's easy to, you know, kind of do that and say, wow, you know, am I ever going to get out of here? You know, am I going to make it to where I want to go? And that is what you gotta really, see, I gotta look at these signs here. So I'm going to take my chance here and go this way. So yeah, you really got to want it bad enough, because there's going to be times that, you know, your flesh or your ego isn't going to want to do the work. It always wants the easy way, you know. And I'll tell you what, if you think you're going to get anything great doing it the easy way or taking all the shortcuts, you know, those things are only going to, you know, keep you happy for a short period of time. It's really the stuff that you got to really push yourself through to really get the things that you really desire. And that's what you got to, you know, anything that you are working on, maybe a book, maybe you want to create songs, you know, whatever it is that you're into, is that it's easy to give up. And as I was walking up that hill, you know, there's times I'm like, ooh, you know, the sun, and this happens many times to Starlight out in hiking trails, is, wow, you know, I ended up getting more sun. And I'm like, wow, you know, I think I'm almost there, you know, and I get all excited, you know, and that happens in a real life, thinking that, you know, you're almost there, but then you find out that you're not, you know. We get tricked many times thinking that, you know, because the spirit wants to keep going, but the flesh wants to stop and give up, you know, before the time. So actually, I'm going to turn around. My intuition is saying, nope, don't go that way, Starlight. We're getting off track. So I'm going to go with my intuition. I didn't really sit still with this over here. So I feel something doesn't feel right. So I'm going, Starlight's going by her intuition. So you can't give up. You got to keep on pushing yourself. And that's what I did today. But I'll tell you what, it was a mind struggle. It really was, you know, back and forth, you know. Parts of me is like, man, how far do I got to go to get to that spot, you know, because of the time, you know. How long is it going to take me to get there, you know? And So, and I got closer and closer and, pushing myself harder and harder to keep going and, knowing that, God's got me out here for a reason. God didn't want me to turn around. God wanted me to keep going, because I learned when you talk out loud to yourself, you can actually really understand what the universe wants. I was like, wow, how far is it, And I was like, I was talking outside and I'm like, well, maybe I ought to turn around now, and go back. And then, that still small voice said, no, you got to keep going, Starlight. What? Yeah, you got to keep going. You're not done yet. You got to keep, you got to do this. You got to finish this. You got to get to the end. And so I did. I kept on pushing myself. And that, if you really talk out loud, you're going to really, really understand what the universe is really telling you. And it's going to go against your, it's going to go against what you want to do. You might want to back out of it, give up on it, go back, not even finish the mountain. And how many of you, I don't know, how many of you have walked a mountain, climbed a mountain? And did you ever, there's times you got to figure out how many miles it is. And of course, it's never going to take everyone the same distance, to get there. But how many of you started walking up a mountain and gave up and turned around, And I'll tell you what, this can happen because I've done this before because I didn't have enough time in that day, honestly. But like I was saying earlier, a lot of times we have all these excuses. I don't have enough time. But then what do you have time for? What are you doing with your time? And that's what you got to ask yourself. Is there, and I had to do this years ago, and I'm so proud of myself. I gave up marijuana for good. And words are very powerful, like I just said that, So now I used to think, hey, I gave up marijuana, but I don't mind actually being around people that smoke it. Now that's totally different. Now I don't even want to smell it, even though I like the smell of it. So there's going to be times that, we got to be really strong and figure out what is taking up our time in a day. How about your weekends? What are you doing on the weekends? What are you doing at night? There's people out there that they want to, hey, it's Friday night. And I'll tell you what, those are I love going out to eat. But man, Friday night, a lot of people, they can't wait for Friday, to go out to eat, and so, or to go out, not just to eat, but, it's party time. And then some people might not actually do that on Friday night because they worked hard all week long and they really don't have a lot of energy for the Friday night. They just want to, kind of end the night, eat and go to sleep and start over the next day. Because Starlight was, I didn't really go out and party per se, like maybe when I was younger, but to go out to a bar. But I didn't go out to a bar for men or alcohol. I went there for a dance floor and music. But is that there's people that they want to, they want to have this dream in their life, but they're not willing to give up things. And that's why they never make it, because they're not willing to give up things that they enjoy. But those things that they enjoy, like Starlight used to smoke marijuana, takes your time up, and I am so grateful that I gave it up, because that was like it was at times when I lived in my own apartment, it was more than 3 hours a day that, I was not functionable. I laugh because, there's so many things I couldn't do if I smoked marijuana. I couldn't make a video for YouTube if I got high. I could not handle like technology, if I got stoned. And so, and then it took like 3 hours. I'm saying 3 hours, for by the time I smoke it, get high, and then, for the high to wear off. So there's times that we got to give up things, it's sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice to get those things, those dreams that you want in your life? Maybe you want to get prepared for the future, and with all the things that are changing in the world, I notice a lot of restaurants, they're changing things around, and it's a smart move. It really is. Now they have things set up so if another virus came, you know what? They're still going to make money. But they had to be sharp and be quick and make those adjustments, Because I couldn't believe it. I seen a Subway store, and I've never seen any of them like this. It was a drive-through Subway. I was like, what the heck? Come on. A drive-through Subway store? But then I got thinking about it. I'm like, actually, that's a smart thing to do. Because if there was ever another pandemic, they already got things already set up, and they're not going to lose out on money. A lot of companies, they had to, change everything around after COVID, and they, either they changed it during COVID or after COVID, because the money that lost, So you really there's going to be sacrifices along your life, in real time that you got to give up. And as Starlight was climbing, even after I was climbing up the mountain, wanting to turn back, and I kept on going, and I'm like, oh, man, whew. I was breathing heavy. I only had 2 bottles of water with me. I didn't want to drink all the water up because I need to have water on the way back. And I'm like, wow, man, where is this place? It's so funny. And you know what? It started lightening up again. The sky, the sun started coming through. And then I saw a sign that was off the trail, and it said the Overlook Trail. And it's like, and she told me that trail was really short. See, it's really amazing how, I was praying to where to go so I can get alone, not knowing it was meant for me to meet this girl, because she told me, oh yeah, she goes, yeah, you want to go up there? There's a nice clearing up there. You could put your chair. It's a very peaceful spot. That's exactly where I needed to go today. It was amazing. And so I know great things are going to come my way because I listen to the voice, of the universe by guiding me and helping me to come out here and get alone, because my morning was rough, and so Starlight gets really upset if my time gets messed with in my day, because not every day things go our way, and our time, we might only have so much time in a day, but we need to make the most out of our time every day. And that's why it's so important, for any of you, if you got something to work on, there's going to be a lot of things along the way. People are going to try to tell you, to go in that direction. I've had people tell me all kinds of stuff on this journey here, but those are just tests, because people will tell you another way, and you'd be like, and it's always easier. They're going to tell you something that you don't really have to put too much effort in. It's like, yeah, and what, just like a relationship, I wouldn't want an easy relationship because it's too easy. I feel like I need to work for that relationship. And that's the kind of relationship I'm in, is that I needed to work hard to even be a part of that relationship. So you don't want to take the easy way, and life was never meant to be easy. You're going to have to push yourself, and I do this every night I push myself. I'm like, whew, by the time I'm ready to go to sleep, I am knocked out. I'm like, bam, Starlight's out like a light. But we need to keep on pushing, you got to have balance and all that, but don't give up now, because imagine that, because I'll tell you what, this happened many times in my life. I would be driving around on the road, and I'm trying to think, looking for a place. I think this is when I don't know, maybe I can't remember if I had GPS, had a phone, or had a map, but many times if I got lost on the road when I'm driving, or if I took the wrong turn or something like that, and I was trying to figure out how to get out of that situation, or how to get back on track, or how to find a place that I was searching for. It could be at nighttime and you can't see very well. Well, I have to say, many times when I got lost driving, and I don't think I had a GPS, is that only if I went a little further. But many times, sad to say, I always turned back and backtrack, and then realized, no, I was using my intuition as a guide as far as where I was supposed to be, the place that I was supposed to go to. And many times it was that I just had to keep going a little bit further, and I would have made it to my destination. But a lot of times we second guess ourselves, we second guess ourselves, not really trusting the process, not really trusting our intuition. And then, but you know what? It's all a lesson. It's okay, but because like today, at the one point when I said, oh man, I'm like, man, I still didn't find it yet. Well, this is life. There's going to be times that, you think you're almost done with something, and then you find out, oh man, I got all of that to do still. You got to be, oh man, it's going to take a long time. But you know what? If I just gave up at the point when I said, man, where is, I was wondering, man, did I miss something on this trail? And I'm thinking, well, she told me, to do this and that, and I'm like, well, I did what she told me. I didn't see any other orange trail. I didn't see any other trail. I could have turned all the way back and, would have missed out on the overlook, trail, and I would have been so devastated because I would have wasted all those hours of trying to get somewhere and then just given up right when I was so close. So you don't want to give up now, is because whatever you're working on, you are getting closer than you think. And just like they had that cartoon, are we there yet? There's many times that you're going to be like, am I there yet? Like I was today. I'm like, wow, where is this place? Especially it's my first time being out here, and there's markers out here, but it doesn't say, hey, you only got like a mile left to walk, to get to the overlook, but this is life. There's no guide really except for the universe to guide you. There's no manual except for the universe to guide you. And so you really got to listen to your intuition, and there's going to be many people that are going to try to trip you up, and they would have gave up way long time ago. But you don't need to be like those people. You can keep on going and pushing yourself, to keep on going. Because, if you just gave up and never continued, that will be something in your mind your whole time, is only if I kept on going, and there's go-getters out there and there's quitters out there. And I don't know, are you a go-getter, or are you somebody that, starts out and then just, gives up quick? And it has a lot to do with how we were brought up, That's why it's so important as far as parents go, always keep on pushing your kids to go a little bit further. Stretch them. That's how you do it. You got to stretch them. Don't let them give up so early. Say, inspire them. They're going to need inspiration, to kind of put them, so they believe in themselves. And because not every child gets that. And that's why, even yourself, you got to inspire yourself. I was doing I am affirmations as I was pumping up the hill, pushing myself. I am enough. I am enough. I am abundant, doing I am affirmations, climbing up the mountain, huffing and puffing. But I kept on going. And that's what you need to do, is you keep on going. Life is a trip. And you eventually you will get where you want to go, like I did today. I finally made it to that spot, and I was able to finally get alone with God. So what are you willing to sacrifice? Because it's going to take, you're going to have to let go of things. You know, it might even be people that you got to let go of, you know, because there's so many people out there you might not even be aware because they're wearing a mask that are pulling you back. And if you do have kids, always push them to go harder. Don't let them cave in so quick, you know, because get them ready for the real world later on, you know. You know, encourage them, inspire them, and say, you know, you're almost there. You got this. You got this. They need that because that's going to help them out for their future. You know, their future self will be so grateful that you were there and you pushed them to go harder. You didn't like, oh, that's okay, we don't have to do it now, because you're not going to help your kids out later on for their future. It's so hard to really get your kids to, they're going to whine, they're going to cry, but you know, you can always reward them at the end. So anyway, I love you so much. Thank you for watching. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.